Well, part of our mission is to bring a whole range of perspectives to women about this intersection between business, our jobs, the way in which we can lead and influence together. So we run civic education workshops all over the country, really for voting age women.
We try to take a stand on issues that make an impact in our communities. And we understand the role and responsibility of the private sector to influence the dialogue around these issues.
Right, but we have so many stories about the robot revolution and people losing jobs, and it's kind of dark, but taking off where Lauren was saying, like, let's not feel paralyzed and helpless. What has you excited?
It is creating more opportunities for all of us to be liberated and to, wield our intellect and our imagination to tackle much more challenging, problems and issues that face us because the machines are taking care of the other stuff. So I think
I'm going to bring up the World Economic Forum again because the panel on the future of fintech last year in 2018 was all men.
Yeah.
Right? It was all white men that were probably somewhere between the age of 35 and 60 discussing the role of fintech in the future. Mm-hmm. And yet you found us. And so I do think that, the onus is on us to continue to push one another, right? To continue to support one another, to put dollars behind each other, and to really create a community.
And we've got more women that are graduating from engineering programs than are men now, and we've kind of crossed that mark. So one for me is, what do you do about it? It is about, I think, increasing the funnel. I also think it's about women investing in other women, which is why we're here. It's also about having a voice and taking those leaps of faith to stand up for the things that you absolutely believe, in my mind. And it's about empowering ourselves, candidly.
We've had less than 25% of women in the state Senate, and less than 30%, I think, in the Assembly. So when you think of the number of women who are not at the table, it's kind of surprising for New York. We can, and we will do better.
And there's a reason we have so many millionaires in Congress, so many people who are independently wealthy, because for most working Americans, you can't take off a year. You can't give up a salary. You can't also pay your mortgage and your school loans and now pick up the cost of childcare. And we put in a request to the Federal Election Commission and asked if we can use the funds that we're raising for the campaign on childcare. And Hillary Clinton wrote a 3-page letter in support. 24 representatives wrote in support. They unanimously approved it, and it has changed the way that people will run for office.
Because the reality is that if you've got the power, the question really is, what do you do with it? And I know so many individuals who have titles and power, and the question for me has always been, what have you done with the power that you have? What have you done with your title?
If you think about up until now, companies were incentivized to build a strong, inclusive, and equitable corporate culture in order to attract talent. Now, companies are going to have that culture in order to attract capital. And there's really 2 things you can't run a business without: people and money. So I think that soon it's going to be 3 things you can't run it without: people, money, and a kick-ass, equitable, gender-friendly culture.
Women are the primary breadwinners of 44% of households in the U.S., for example, right? Women are not just going to be wealth inheritors in the future, but they are also wealth creators, right?
We really wanted to get a woman on the panel, but we really couldn't find any. And I was on one, and I was like, well, what's the topic? And I gave them 5. They're like, oh, wow, ask a woman.
Ask a woman. I think we should just take that away.
Ask a woman.
Clear action.
Hashtag ask a woman.
Yeah.